nailing life, just in general. Hello everybody, my name is Gita Mary, and today I am going to share some of the emails I get from companies that want to collab with me that I really don't want to collab with. I have made one of these videos before, but I keep getting requests from companies with whom I have no overlapping values. And honestly, I think it's a little bit hilarious. I have a folder in my email at this point that just says, haha, where I put all of this in, and then I can share it with you guys once in a while. And that's what we're going to do today. But before we get started, this video has a sponsor. This video is sponsored by Skillshare, and Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of different courses. I have been inspired to pursue different methods of photography, martial arts, DIYing, sewing, and now productivity as well, which is what I want to talk about today. You can find so many different things on Skillshare, and it's a really cool way of kickstarting a new interest or a new hobby, but it's also a really neat way to get inspiration for other things to pursue and how to go about them. Because in this video, we're going to dive into some of the aspects of being a content creator, the aspects of being a person that works online, and some of the stuff that might entail how to communicate with creators, how to communicate with brands. I thought it could be pretty cool to share this Skillshare course with you. This is about managing your side hustle, being creative and productive as a content creator. So if you want to learn more about that, check out the link down below. And of course, the first 1,000 people to click the link in my bio will also get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. Anyway, what I have for you today is just gonna be chef's kiss. I am, however, not going to be disclosing any specific details about the brand. I'm gonna be a little bit vague. I'm also not gonna disclose anything the email said specifically and in relation to the brand, just so I'm covered. I don't wanna sit here in all of my audacity and share emails that were sent to me in confidence. So I'm just gonna translate some of it. It's still gonna be fun though. Still gonna be fun. The first type of platform that reached out to me that I want to react to is, there's someone, you can also find them on my Instagram because they usually comment. It is super weird, and it's a dropship platform. A dropship platform is a really big online retailer / store where you can buy everything, and it's all made incredibly cheap and in incredibly poor quality. And there are so many of these. One of the bigger ones are stuff like Wish. Wish is a dropship platform that has not reached out to me, but a similar kind. I entertained the idea for a little while, so they write to me, just, do you want to collab? We have this budget. The amount of money I've said no to from these weird ass companies, I don't understand. Anyway, I reply to them, you know I talk about sustainability, right? And you really have to give it to them, because every single time I've gotten an email back that says, yeah, you ready? No? I'm not ready. Anyway, they follow me on Insta as well, and they've commented on several of my things, and just like, you guys are the hellscape from which I'm trying to escape. You guys feed into every overconsumer habit that I'm trying to fight. Anyway, let's continue. Another type of collaboration I often encounter in my emails is like a big billion-dollar corporation that then have these smaller sister corporations, but it doesn't feel like you're working with the big corporation because you're working with some of the smaller ones, but they are all the same thing. An example, H&M. H&M owns so many other things. They own Another Stories, they own Monkey, they own, one second, actually. H&M owns H&M, COS, Monkey, Weekday, Another Stories, Cheap Monday, H&M Home, and Arcade. And sometimes, and that is the structure, and you can see them with pretty much all bigger companies. But the structure here, I can see that there has been a deliberate, well, we're reaching out to a sustainability influencer, so let's not use like the big corporate name, let's just use like the small sister name and just cross our fingers that they don't know. They know. This is my favorite one, by the way. So last year, a airline company reached out to me and asked me if they could get the rights to some of my YouTube videos so they could play them on the airplanes as entertainment, as inspiration to passengers. And I was entertaining the idea again, just seeing where these people are going and like what their ideas are. It's just a little bit interesting to see what they're up to. So it wasn't really interesting to me, but I asked them, okay, is there any type of compensation related to this? Like, what's your budget? What are you thinking? And then, and this is the best thing that has ever happened to me, they replied back that technically compensation was not really involved because I was being exposed to so many people, and a platform like mine could really benefit from that type of exposure. I don't know if my platform will benefit from airplane passenger exposure. Not to say that people that go on airplanes are always unsustainable, because I don't think so. I've also mellowed out a whole lot in terms of sustainable travel, understanding that, well, there can be different reasons as to why one will have to travel by plane, and that's completely fair. You can still pursue many other aspects of sustainability, even if you have to do that once in a while. You don't have to be a hardliner about it, and that's fine. But not compensating someone and paying them purely in potential exposure is just so incredibly unethical that I have never. And I think I also ended up telling them this just in case that they have to reach out to any other person. And it doesn't even have to be about sustainability, but working with someone or having someone reach out to you wanting something from you, but so clearly not valuing your work, is just a surreal experience sometimes. So usually if I get collaboration requests from companies, even if I'm not really interested, I'll still try to pursue this, well, there has to be a budget, there has to be compensation, and then afterwards I'll sometimes let them know that I'm not interested. But I think it's just important to establish that content creation is just incredibly valuable work, and treating it as though it's just someone's hobby and they just enjoy doing it so much, you don't need to pay them because they enjoy doing it so much, is really unethical. And I spent just way too many years not being compensated for my work. Today I value myself way too much to do that. Anyway, an airline company wanting to play my videos. Again, it's a surreal experience. One of the biggest dairy companies in Denmark. So people from Denmark or situated in Denmark know the name, that's fine. The biggest dairy company reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to come and join their panel, perhaps give a lecture at one of their events. And normally I don't necessarily have an issue with going into situations or working with people with whom I don't necessarily overlap value-wise, because I think the bigger narrative of sustainability really benefits from having conversations with people with whom you disagree. I think that is really incredibly important. I've done that a lot in the past, also with political parties I don't necessarily support, because I think sustainability should be wider and not exclusive to a certain group of people. So I am definitely open to going into situations where people don't necessarily agree with me. That's where everyone grows. It's in those conversations, even though it's not necessarily as nice and cozy and warm as just talking to people that agree with you. But that's the job. However, the reason why I said no and just put this just right into the haha, you're killing me folder. But within praising my work and my efforts, they also somehow backhandedly told me that I'm a little bit silly, which it's definitely a vibe that I love. So they said there's like, oh, I just absolutely love what you do. I think it's amazing. We know you're vegan, and vegans scare us a little bit. So please don't talk about that, because we think that those stances are a little bit silly, but I hope we can come together talking about other things than the silly veganism. It was just it's just at this point, food and sustainable food and plant-based eating and veganism, at this point, it's a pretty integrated part of my platform, and it sort of felt like they wanted me to talk about zero waste and plastic straws, and how removing plastic straws from your life will definitely be the best thing you can do for sustainability. And let's not talk about food at all, because clearly we disagree. The next type of, okay, I'm not doing this, is not something I've had a lot to do with professionally and with content creation, but it is something I've seen a lot happening online. And it's when a fast fashion retailer sort of masquerades as vintage fashion. Because vintage fashion, secondhand fashion, etc. is super sustainable. It's pre-loved, it's re-wearing things that have been around for ages, and it doesn't tap into a demand for new products to be made. We love vintage fashion, we love secondhand. And some companies seem to know this, because I got an email from a company that sounded like a vintage, it had vintage something something in its name. From the email, from most of the website, it looked like this was vintage fashion, except that it wasn't. It was vintage inspired fashion. And it seemed in the email I was receiving that they had a sustainable spin, but I couldn't find anything whatsoever. So the sustainable spin seems to be looking like something that's not fast fashion. It's not necessarily a haha one, but it's just like it happened. And lastly, and this has to be by far the weirdest thing that I've had to say no to. Because in my email, I often get requests to join panels or Q&As or give lectures and inspirational talks, etc. That's a big part of my job. And it's happened now a couple of times that I've had someone reach out to me from a marketing company, someone who's not the direct client, but someone who's representing the client. And it usually goes like this. So we have this client, unknown client, or client prefers to be anonymous client. They would love to have you come and talk about sustainability, discussion in a panel, etc. They would absolutely love it. Here's all the money in the world that we can give you to do that. And it's usually pretty generous, like it's well above my asking rate. However, the client prefers to remain anonymous until our contract has been signed. And if that is not the biggest red flag I've ever seen in my life, a lot of the time, and that's just something that happens when you take your image and your brand and your values, and when a big billion-dollar corporation, for instance, chooses to hire you, they can use your branding and your value to sort of soften themselves up, because like, look, we're collaborating with these people and they're really good, thus we must be really good. There's a lot of that going on sometimes. So having a client that is where you're supposed to communicate to them, talk to them, but not knowing who they are is incredibly problematic. And it's just like, I don't really understand why they would do that, if not for the reason that they know that if I saw who the client was, I wouldn't go. There's also just, like practical things, because I tailor most of my talks to the people I'm speaking with. So in order to make it more interesting and more relevant for these people, something that I know for a fact that they can use, and it's not, like the same universal one size fits all message, I like to tailor it to make sure that people get as much out of it as possible. And you can't do that if you don't know who the people are. That's happened a couple of times. Each time I've said, if I don't know the client, I cannot really accept or sign anything. Where I don't know who I'm working with. Like I know I've worked in social media for a really long time, and I have had a lot of collaborative partners, and I've been around, know some things I don't know. Not even a lot, but and sometimes I just still come across people that also seem to be working within this industry that has no idea how to communicate, which is really weird. Anyway, those are some of the collaboration requests I get, and this is how I deal with it and what I think about it. And just let it be known that the majority of people that I work with and talk to, and people that reach out to me, are so kind and helpful and understanding, and seem to actually like me and my work, which is cool. Sometimes you get this, then I can make a video like this, and I think it's great fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have an amazing day and take really good care of yourselves. Until next time, bye. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green, zero-waste content, and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!